Start Over Strong, Life After a DUI, a podcast for people, not offenders. Brought to you by Smart Start, the nation's most trusted, judgment-free ignition interlock provider.
Hello and welcome to this show. I am Morgan Ryan, and this is your favorite podcast, Stigma-Free IID, Life After a DUI. I am with Smart Start and very excited for today's episode. We're having a hot topic today with one of my favorite guests, expert Steve Luce. Steve, you are officially becoming a regular on the show. Welcome, Steve.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Today, we're going to get into the hot topic of attorneys, and we're going to be talking about the differences between public defenders and private attorneys and which is better. But I did hear from a bird that you were in Puerto Rico talking to the government.
I was left last Wednesday and spent a couple of days in Puerto Rico. We're working with the Highway Safety Department there to try to implement an ignition interlock program to save some lives in Puerto Rico.
This is incredible.
So it was very, very encouraging. There's a lot of work to be done there, but they are trying to reduce their fatality rate and their DUI arrest rate. So
yeah, that's phenomenal. Steve's out there doing the hard work. I did hear there was a golf event, though.
We did a golf event. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving had a golf event on the Friday that I was there.
Very cool.
And I was driving my golf cart and I ran into a big iguana. Kind of scared me a little bit.
An iguana. They're the size of oak trees.
He was about 6 feet long, and we had to square it off in the cart path. But I got his picture and I scared him when I got out of the cart. And so I think I won. So yeah.
He won the iguana battle.
I go in the staring contest, yes.
Right. Yeah. Well, Steve, I have some questions. I'm going to channel all the fresh DUI folks out there and anybody that may be going through this. I want to get to the bottom of the conversation around attorneys. First and foremost, out of the gate, tough question. Yes. Are attorneys for you or are attorneys against you?
Attorneys are for you, definitely. I mean, they're working for you. I mean, you have a prosecutor who is an attorney, and you have your public defender or your hired attorney, which is working for the client or the defendant. So they're both attorneys. And so it depends on what side of the fence you're on.
Yes. Okay. There is a misunderstanding, however, about whether you need a private attorney or a public defender. And more specifically, is a public defender good enough? Is a public defender up to par with education, things like this? Can we touch on that subject?
Yeah, I'll start with you can go pro se, meaning you don't have an attorney at all into court. I think the challenge with that is DUI is very complicated. There's a lot of elements to that. So that would not be a good suggestion because most likely you're not going to win from that. So public defenders, when you're arrested for DUI, that's your really first interaction with the public defender because at 2 or 3 in the morning, that's the person you're probably going to call. Most private attorneys aren't going to take that call at that time of morning. You're going to come and contact them afterwards. So your first contact with the public defender is the night probably that you got arrested. After that fact, you're going to go for your arraignment hearing. And at that point, they're either going to assign you a public defender if you're eligible for one, or you'll have to go. You may not have a choice. You're going to go to the track with a private attorney.
I've heard that public defenders are often, they appear in front of the same judges regularly, more frequently. Is there a benefit to that?
Your typical public defender is handling multiple cases. So if you've ever been in a courtroom, you can easily identify the public defender because he comes in and it may be a case file box that is full of cases. And the first time that they actually meet their client is in the courtroom. And so they could be handling a domestic violence, a DUI, an assault charge. They have a vast array, and they're handling really the courtroom. They're not handling all the elements of your DUI journey. And so do they spend a lot of time in the courtroom? Yes. Do they get to spend a lot of time on your case? Not necessarily.
Okay, that's really valuable information to know. There's a local element there as well, too. In terms of a public defender, maybe seeing the same judge, understanding how that specific court may operate in terms of what judges maybe value over maybe a private attorney who doesn't have as much access to that judge. Is that true, or do you believe that private attorneys have a pretty good understanding of how where that judge is going to ice pick and dig in?
I think that private attorneys have a very good sense of who the judges are and who they want to be in front of with a DUI. And so they're working within their community, so they know very well. And private attorneys, they do their research, they do their background, and they all talk to each other. They're all involved in usually some type of association, and so they talk about elements of the courtroom, decisions that are made, how to approach in a hearing with different judges or prosecutors.
Okay. Is it safe to say then that both bring value in different ways to the conversation? If you have a more complicated or complex, maybe an aggravated DUI, you're a subsequent offender, you're obviously facing an ignition interlock charge, a car breathalyzer, maybe even a portable alcohol monitoring device, maybe you've hit a stop sign. Those circumstances may be more necessary for a private attorney?
Yeah, and you may not have a choice, depending on your income level. You may not have a choice to have a public defender. So a public defender, and there's two types of public defender. There's a public defender that works for the state, and then some counties contract with firms who are private attorneys, and so they contract. So there are cases where a public defender is a private attorney. It's under contract for that county or that city. So you're getting the element there.
When you say that you may not have the funds for a public defender, do you mean private attorney?
Correct. And meaning that,
just wanted to...
Yes. Sorry.
That's
When you go on your arraignment hearing that day, you can say, yes, I would like to have a public defender.
I see.
And then they qualify you for that. But if you're not qualified for a public defender, then you are going to have to hire a private attorney.
Okay. 60% of DUI defendants use a public defender today, and many do have great outcomes. 60% seems like a large amount. It is kind of close to the 50-50 range. In terms of, it sounds like your income is a big decision factor.
Correct.
And is it true that you should allow the details of your DUI as well to dictate whether or not you choose one or the other?
I mean, like you said earlier, if you're facing vehicular assault, vehicular homicide charges or something like that, you may want to get an attorney that's more in depth and has handled those type of cases before. If you're looking at some significant jail time and an impact on your life from the event that happened, you may want to use an attorney that's more experienced, that has done those cases before, where a public defender probably hasn't tried one of those cases ever, because they have a high volume of caseload. A lot of their cases may get reduced or deferred, where a private attorney is taking them to trial. They're up in front of a jury, they're in front of a judge at a bench trial, and they have that experience. They also have the knowledge and education to deal with those events.
Okay, I understand. Private attorneys also offer, as far as I understand, great flexibility, personalization. They get to know you.
They do.
And they have a pretty good understanding of what judges are looking for in terms of good behavior. I've got some questions from Reddit in terms of private attorneys. So we're going to sit with private attorneys for a second here.
Okay.
What advantages, point blank, can a private attorney bring to the table for me if I just got a DUI? So it doesn't say what kind of DUI. What advantages can a private attorney bring to the table for me if I just got a DUI?
So the first thing I would do is look at what type of private attorney you're going to hire. You can do your research. There's different websites you can go out there within your community. One is called avvo.com. And what that does is you can go up and look at attorneys in your city, and it rates them, and it also gives you their practice categories. And so it gives you a donut wheel that says this attorney does 40 or 50% DUI cases, or it'll say this attorney only does 10% DUI cases. And so that would be my first element. I'm going to reach out to my friends and neighbors and see a recommendation for somebody that does DUI. Because DUI is just not, there's all the elements to go along with it too, right? So there's all the education tools, there's the pieces that come along your whole journey, and that attorney will walk you through that process. And attorneys want to win, right? So they're going to look at your case, and they're competitive in that atmosphere, and they're going to look at your case and every element. What did the officer do? They're going to analyze every step of that way, and they have the time to do that. Where a public defender, I know we didn't want to talk about that, they don't have that time.
Yeah.
So definitely a private attorney, you're paying them for that service, and they're experts in that area.
Fantastic. And the website you mentioned, AVVO, that's Alpha Valor Olive, AVVO.
Adam Victor Ocean from my trooper days, yes.
Okay, so everybody can visit that website. It's kind of like the Google,
Yeah,
so to speak, a grading system with background for private attorneys.
exactly. And you can select what type of crime or what kind of service you need, and it's pretty cool. It pops up and it's very simple to use.
Okay, wonderful. Is it true that a private attorney can also help you navigate your license restrictions if you're facing an ignition interlock device?
Most definitely, yes.
Okay.
And that's something on the side of private attorneys. They look at that and they want to get your driver's license back for you. That's part of their job, and that's what you're paying them for. So they can navigate the DOL hearing or the DMV hearing with the Department of Licensing. They can work through that. They can show up for that and get your license back is their goal. A lot of the times that also includes the interlock too at the same time. So they're working towards both of those.
Yeah, that's great. I'm someone who have personally gone through a lot of experience with attorneys over the past several months, and I'm very pro attorney. I love attorneys. I think they are a phenomenal asset when you find the right team.
Yes.
And my question is, should an offender, someone that has a DUI, should they research multiple attorneys? Should they interview multiple attorneys, or should they just go with the first one that pops up on AVVO?
I would definitely do your research from all the aspects of the attorney. And, attorneys are like anybody else. They have a personality. Do they fit your personality? Are you going to be able to go in and, work with that individual?
I did get in trouble quite a few times.
So
I was a feather ruffler.
And you got to ask the questions, right? Just don't go in and say, hey, this is an attorney, because they're all practice levels, right?
Yeah.
What skill set is this attorney? And the DUI level, because you have your top level, and then you have maybe your new DUI attorney that's only done 3 or 4 cases.
Yeah.
So I would definitely do your research.
Yeah. And I say that wholeheartedly. I think it's a good thing to be someone who asks questions and pushes the bar and wants to understand that team. Someone that does ruffle feathers, so to speak, because raising your hand, I think, is much better now than later down the process. You're in trial or you're really facing kind of that moment in front of a judge. You really want to make sure that, again, your personality and their personality match, that your goals match, and how they've really navigated you throughout the process matters. What would you say to someone that is looking to determine whether or not they need legal support if they are considering going, you said pro se?
I've been in the DUI business, 40 plus years now. I've never seen a pro se win a case.
Interesting statistic.
On DUI. And so I've been in a lot of thousands of DUI cases. I've never seen one win any element in the courtroom, actually, just because they have no knowledge base. They don't know the laws. It just doesn't work out for them.
Sure.
Yes.
We do have a phenomenal episode as well about judges specifically. How do I win the hearts and minds of a judge? And that's a phenomenal episode to check out as well. In terms of public defenders, private attorneys, judges, it sounds like pro se may not be the way to go.
That's not really probably the direction I would go, unless you want to really have a fun experience in the courtroom and lose. That's if that's what you're looking for, then go that route.
Okay, let's not encourage that. We are very pro offender here. In fact, I hate the term offender. You know me, I call offenders people. So what is your advice, kind of switching gears to the public defender realm for a second here? Reddit is quite mixed on this. We have a lot of people on Reddit that are very pro public defender, a lot of people that are pro private attorney. Income seems to be a big one, but what about those who may feel embarrassed to select a public defender? What would you say to those folks?
I mean, public defenders, they're lawyers, right? They've passed the bar. They've gone through the process. They're experts. I think the one difference from a public defender is they just don't have the time to invest in you. And so your time is limited with them. And it's really referenced the trial that's happening at the courtroom. You don't spend any time outside of that. So they do a fantastic job. I would say they're burdened with so many cases. When you see them, you actually feel sorry for them because of their caseload that they have. And so with that volume, they do great, but they just don't have the time to handle it like a private attorney would.
Sure.
So.
And I'm here again. I am pro attorney and I am pro private attorney. I'm pro public defender. I would prefer to break the stigma for anybody that feels embarrassed at all having to be in a public defender situation. There are clearly benefits, I think, for public defenders, even though it sounds like they have a lot of cases. These are people that know these judges very well, and I think they're lethal in a different way than a private attorney. So there's pros and cons to both sides of the coin, and by all means, take the representation that you can. If it's an income issue, do your research is what matters, I think, the most. And I think the point today is remembering that attorneys are a lifeline to you. They are not the enemy. Is that true?
Yes, most definitely. And just touching on the public defender side, a lot of attorneys start out as public defenders, and then they go into private practice. And so they move forward. So a lot of times it is that starting point to get their knowledge, get their expertise, and build up their practice.
How do I know that I'm getting the most out of my working attorney relationship? And how do I get the most out of my attorney?
On a private attorney, I think, when you walk into the door, most private attorneys, they're going to interview you. They want to know about you. They want to know, are you going to be truthful with them? The last thing a private attorney or any attorney wants to do is get on a stand or go into a trial and have something come up that, oops, you forgot to tell them. And the attorney's understanding, they know the officers too. And so they know how the officers write the reports, and they get to know them very well. So I think I sat with the public defender one time, and I went in the courtroom. I heard the public defender turn to his client and say, were you drunk or not? And that was the simple question he asked him. He just wanted to know straight up before he started where he was starting from. And so it's an interesting trail to go down, but I think both sides of the fence are great opportunities for you, no matter which way you go or you have to go. But by all means, there's no stigma associated with using a public defender. They're there to help you through a process, an event that, it's terrible that it happened, but it did. And so you want to get through it. You want to get to the end and see the light, and that's what they're there for. Especially at 2:00 in the morning. And when you want someone to talk to, they're there for you, right?
Yeah.
They're going to give you that advice in the morning. And I've spoken to many public defenders when you wake them up at 3 a.m, and they're there for that client and the kindness in their voice, and they walk them down the trail and they said, hey, this is what you need to do. And you can see the comfort in the client's eyes when they talk to that person. So they're a great asset.
Yes, I agree. I will say too, I was also interviewed by my attorney team, and I loved that. We did also clean out the closet, so to speak, and go through all of the skeletons, the ups and downs, and get out the cobwebs. And there are times during a process like this where you feel all of those emotions of shame and guilt and remorse. But really, the minute you step into a place of accountability, if you have the right public defender or private attorney behind you, I think that's when really the magic happens, because this is just a moment. That moment does not define you. That moment is not who you are, and you will get through that journey. Okay, so the takeaway is it is not about what kind of attorney that you have. It's about how you work with that attorney, whether public or private. Your attorney's goal is to protect your future,
yes,
number one, and to help you take that next step towards getting your life back. Is that true?
They are your guidance. Depend on them. And be truthful with them, like I said before. I mean, they're going to ask you questions, and just give them the truthful answer, because they are your attorney. And so they need those tools to help you go through this process.
Yes. Tell your attorney the truth.
Yes, definitely.
That's a great place to end. Steve, you're always a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. My name is Morgan Ryan. You can get your first 2 payments free with coupon code Stigma free. Visit smartstartinc.com if you are in need of a car breathalyzer, which is an ignition interlock device, or you can call 844-766-0156. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, drive smart.